Hi, are you thinking about using crowdfunding to raise money for your business? I'm Jenny Kassan. I'm a securities lawyer and capital raising coach, and I'm excited to share with you some things to think about when deciding whether to use crowdfunding and then also deciding which platform to use. So first of all, I just want to say that there's different kinds of crowdfunding. There's donation and rewards-based crowdfunding. So one big example of that is Kickstarter, and that's where you might offer some kind of a perk, like a t-shirt or some product that you want to test out with that market. Investment crowdfunding is where you're actually offering some kind of an investment opportunity to the people that might give you funding. And it's very different from the rewards-based or donation-based platforms because it is highly regulated under securities law. So sometimes people will call it equity crowdfunding, but honestly that's not the right thing to call it because it implies that you can only offer an equity investment when actually you can offer any type of investment you want. But what sets it apart from the other crowdfunding type is that you are offering an investment opportunity, also known as a security. There still aren't that many people using this. It only became legal at the national level about 5 or 6 years ago. And so it's still kind of small, but it has been growing a lot. And it can be a really great way to get your business funded and do it on your own terms because you decide what you're offering to investors. So obviously you first do need to decide what you're going to offer to investors, and I have lots and lots of videos on how to decide what to offer to investors, and these decisions apply to crowdfunding as well. So there's lots of other videos in my playlist with that information. But for now, I just want to say that that's the first step, is figuring out what you want to offer to investors. And one thing you'll find is sometimes the platforms, because when you do raise money with crowdfunding, with investment crowdfunding, it's legally required that you choose a platform. You are not allowed to do it without a platform. So there's quite a few platforms out there, so you need to look at them and figure out which one is the best for you. And some of the platforms, honestly, they will tell you that they can help you figure out what you're going to offer to investors, but I don't really recommend that because they may not be the experts in helping you to decide what to offer, and they're going to tend to offer you a very cookie cutter approach to what to offer to investors, which really may not be a good fit for you. So like I said, if they do that, you might be a little skeptical about whether they are the right partner for you, because I believe that's really bad advice. But anyway, putting that aside, let's say you know what you want to offer to investors, you have that all documented, you're offering equity, you're offering some kind of a revenue-based loan, you're offering something. You know what that is, you have those legal documents, and now you do just have to choose a platform. And just so you know, it did just get increased how much you can raise. You can now raise up to $5 million. So that's awesome. If you can find a good platform and get a good campaign going, if you can raise that amount of money, it's wonderful because you can raise it on your terms, like I said, because you have a larger number of smaller investors and you're setting the terms. So how do you pick a platform? So what I want to say is that first of all, you should know that platforms are really like a commodity. Like if you're going to the store and there's 5 different farms that all have Fuji apples at the store, are you really going to care which farm you buy your Fuji apple from? I mean, maybe. Maybe there's a farm that you know the farmer or it's close by, but honestly, they're all Fuji apples. So just the same with crowdfunding platforms, they're really not all that different from each other because they are so highly regulated and there's all these rules about, what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, what they have to do. It's almost like, I think of it as like a utility, like getting your electricity. You're going to get your electricity from some utility company, but it's still electricity. So pick one that is going to be the easiest to work with because there are a lot of complexities to complying with the law around investment crowdfunding, and you want to make sure and work with one that is really good at helping you with that process. So So some things to keep in mind is customer service. And I will say I actually raised money on a crowdfunding platform about 4 or 5 years ago. And I found that the customer service was quite horrible. There was a lot of staff turnover at this company. A lot of the people that were working there were really new to the industry. They didn't really know that much. Luckily, I'm a lawyer, and I actually worked on getting the law passed in the first place, so I was very, very familiar with it, and I was able to navigate it. But we actually ended up not launching on the day we wanted to launch because of their bad customer service. So that's really important. Make sure that and it's hard to tell sometimes because when they're selling you, you might not be talking to the same people who you would actually be working with if you do decide to raise money on their platform. But try to do as much as you can. For example, ask people who have raised on the platform, ask as many as you can, and not just references they send you, but people who maybe didn't successfully raise the money they want to raise, or just random people that have raised on their platform, and ask them what was the customer service experience like. So that's really, really important. Also, they are required to really help you make sure that everything you're doing is legally compliant. But unfortunately, they are notorious for not doing a good job of that. The majority of offerings that are done these days on these platforms are actually not done correctly. So obviously, if you have your own lawyer, that's going to really help. But if you can try to find one where they have a sophisticated legal team to make sure that they really know what they're doing, and you don't end up doing something that they tell you to do and then realize, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. Because you could, even though they are responsible for helping you, you're also responsible for knowing the rules. Another thing, obviously, is the fees. They take a percentage of what you raise, and there can be lots of hidden fees for different pieces that they might offer. So one thing I found out recently is that there was one crowdfunding platform, a very prominent one, that was telling people our fees are 6%. They were saying, we take 6% of your raise. What they were not saying is they also take, in addition to that, 3% from the investor. So they take 6% from your money and 3% from the investor's money. So it's 9%. And they honestly were not telling companies that they were doing that. So be very, very careful. Make sure they fully explain all the different fees, and are there added things that they're going to offer you that have an extra fee involved. There's a lot of compliance that has to do with, bringing in the money, making sure it's being held correctly, that everyone who's putting their money in is being, checked for, making sure there's no money laundering going on, no terrorist activity going on, so that those do have expenses associated with them, and they're going to probably want to pass those expenses on to you in some way. And of course, they want to make money themselves. So yeah, be very careful looking at the fees. So those are really the top things. There's also one other thing, and that is that different platforms try to have a different relationship with you over time. So some platforms are very clean in terms of when they're helping you and when they're done helping you. And that can be nice because then the relationship is very clear. I have found lately that a lot of the platforms are trying to stay involved with you after you finish your raise and offer additional services that have to do with compliance, that have to do with communicating with your investors. That may be a good thing, but in my experience, it's better not to outsource that to a regulation crowdfunding platform because that's not really their expertise. Their expertise is on the fundraising part itself. The stuff that happens after you raise, I think it's better to take that in-house, hire another expert to help you with that, like a good accountant. I raised $1.1 million on one of these platforms a few years ago. Once I was done with that raise, my relationship, because I had had that bad customer service experience, my relationship with that platform ended. And I just brought it in-house. I have an accountant that does a very good job at, making payments to our investors. We also, do our own investor relations, like investor update calls. We also do the follow-up filings that you're supposed to do, which a lot of businesses forget to do. So we took that all in-house. We stopped the relationship with the crowdfunding platform, and that's my recommendation, is not to rely on them for your customer relations or ongoing compliance, because again, that's not really what they're set up to do. So I hope this was helpful in preparing for raising money from the general public through investment crowdfunding, and maybe helping you decide which platform is best for you. We do have a lot of other videos, like I said, about how to figure out what you're going to offer to investors, which again, you should definitely take the time to do that and not just accept the crowdfunding platform's recommendation on what to offer. So check out this video here on that topic. Check out this playlist for a lot more. In the comment section, tell me if you have been thinking about using an investment crowdfunding platform and what you're finding as you're starting to dig into all the different ones, and what are the pros and cons of the different ones that are available.